From a fluffy pad to this carpet to a premium material for a premium car, this is our factory story of Alcantara.
Steering wheel, dashboard and of course the seats. A racy car needs a racy interior. This Chimera Evo 37 resto mod vehicle is an incredible unique piece built on base of an old chassis by a Lancia Beta Monte Carlo. And of course they picked a material that has premium purpose and at the same time fulfills the original racing purpose that transports the heritage of that vehicle here. But the question is, what is Alcantara, where is it built and how is it made? Well, it's right behind me and today we take you on an exclusive factory tour of Alcantara, the material that often stands as a synonym for microfiber seats. So sometimes when I say, oh, these are microfiber seats, they say, no, Thomas, it's Alcantara. Well, it's not technically true because it is one of the cases where a brand itself defines a material, at least the naming for it. You know, maybe there are also other examples for it, maybe like in Germany we say Tempo for a handkerchief, for example, or you say Kleenex maybe in the US. And Alcantara is the case because it is such a famous brand. But why are they famous? What are they doing? How does it work? We'll take you on this tour here with Thomas Nautigefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go.
In these final pieces here you see Alfa Romeo, Porsche or BMW M, where this material is being used. But how does it come to that? This is here the Alcantara factory in Italy, about an hour north of Rome. And like anything you can get in the automotive industry, it is of course also a factory complex. It starts all with these small PET pellets. They are now also available with recycling. For example, the first time here for the Ferrari Purosangue Alcantara seats. In this first factory step, the small PET pellets are being melted and being pushed through a tiny hole, and then you have these threads. They're hanging all over the ceiling in this first production hall. You see there are the dark ones or here the bright ones. That depends on the color later on, but there are these two base colors for brighter or for darker colors. Then they are being washed, transported further and are being pulled tight. And then happens a very quick process where they are being unraveled, but just on the outside part. So the inside part of the fiber stays intact, but the outside part becomes unraveled. And that one later gives this Alcantara structure, at least a part for it, because if you would not do this step here, you would rather get, for example, a slick leatherette. This again happens for both colors, and here this is the first dryer, because after this first washing process, you need to dry them first. Then they are getting sucked in. Here, by the way, you can feel and see this first unraveled product, and it almost becomes fluffy, like a pad of wool or something. And everything of that is being packed into 200 kilo blocks in both colors, the dark one and the bright one. Then they are being brought into the next factory hall. Here, this giant vacuum cleaner sucks the fiber in again and transports it to the next machines. That looks really old school machine alike, right? Here, these fibers are being pulled to some kind of carpet. They are being folded layer over layer over layer again. And then some giant stamping machines actually condense the material, and made of multiple layers, you can for a first time feel actually already this, let's say, half finished material. This one is already a somewhat finished roll. Then the next step, here the second component of Alcantara is being added, PU. This one is done on a chemical basis, and this process is actually off limits for camera, for security and also for secrecy reasons that no competitor can copy it. Next step is the dyeing process. Here colors are being added. This is not done chemically, by the way, so they want to have a more environmental approach. They get into these huge washing machines, 20 hours by 120 degrees Celsius, and then the colors are being sucked into the fabric, just mechanically. After being dried and rolled again, you have the final Alcantara product with all of its very fine structure. Here, by the way, the difference, the black one is with flame retardant for automotive use. the gray one here without flame retardant on the back side for furniture or clothes or something. New colors can be mixed directly in the workshop, by the way. Here they can combine different colors and make unique colors for each manufacturer, for each client. This is the new complex manufacturing facility where they go a step further. So you can either as a customer go for this raw product and do it yourself for your own seat as a manufacturer, or you get this complex manufacturing service, then Alcantara is actually cutting the material for you and process it further. The advantage is that they can better individualize things on their own than inside their own factory. So here then you have these smaller pieces of Alcantara where they, for example, add these red stripes. Have you ever wondered how that one works? So here there are these huge stamping presses and then they are being put on the material. Once again, they are being cut out on the outside parts then. And then the workers are controlling if everything matches the templates. Also, this is one of my favorite processes. They brush the final material that it has a very clean and nice look. Here you can see also another technique. This is this perforation that another color is shining through from the background, also used in the Alfa Tonale. Here, and this is, by the way, this stamping finishing process that you have the color combination together also with physical stamping, that you have this three-dimensional effect on the seat. Yeah, don't forget to brush it. Different colors are once again being used also for the final processing. Yeah, they also can be funny inside the factory. This is also one of the high-tech areas where they have these automatic sewing machines for the contrast stitches. This one here, for example, for Opel, Stellantis company is also a very huge customer for them. Here for the Opel GSE models, the sporty ones. And then we see more final samples right here for different manufacturers, different colors, contrast stitching, also these three-dimensional stamping and different forms. Very interesting what you can do. For example, also for McLaren. And then we can see these final samples here, Alfa Romeo, Porsche GT3, for example, BMW M Performance. BMW is one of the big German customers of Alcantara, and Jaguar Land Rover as well, or Hyundai with their N products. And here we can see our final Alfa Romeo Tonale parts. This is another interesting technique where you can see how this is being done, this laser stamping, I would call it. So there's another fabric in the background, and then there's an Alcantara mat on the foreground, and then there is this laser engraving to have these really fine details that the background color can then shine through. Different parts here, by the way. Microsoft Surface, for example, uses it. You can have book covers, shoes, or even bags. They also have this compartment, for example, for furniture, pillows, and it comprises about 15% of the business. However, automotive is still the biggest. This is how it all started. Then back in the automotive industry, Lancia was one of the biggest customers.
And here from our editing studio, let's talk about the plastic argument. Because what I often read, especially when we talk about alternatives to animal skin leather, is, wait a minute, aren't these alternatives based on plastic or then based on raw oil? And actually, yes, it is the case, as we have already seen here in the Alcantara production of the microfiber. So you can either take a raw oil base that is then further processed, plastic, these small pellets and so on, and then you make these highly evolved materials from it. Or alternatively, as we've also shown here in the Ferrari Puro Sangue, with the high recycling share. So the question is always, is it bad in comparison to what? What are the alternatives? So what do we already have available? And what material has the highest impact? The question is actually easily answered. Animal skin leather has the highest impact on them all. Humans, animals, and also the environment. First of all, always includes animal cruelty. Then in the process, also toxins are being used. These chemicals are also having impact on the water and so on, and people are suffering from it. And even if you leave all ethical aspects aside, the whole CO2 output is just the highest, beginning from land mass use, then the whole efficiency in the production, energy, water use, and so on. And manufacturers have already acknowledged that, and that's the reason why every major car manufacturer has already dropped out of animal skin use, at least long term. Some are quicker, some a little bit slower. But then the question is, what are the alternatives, and is it actually bad that they are plastic based? So a base fabric seat is also an artificial material, and that is usually not in discussion. But that has a similar impact if we take here a microfiber or Alcantara seat. High-grade leatherette is a little bit thicker, uses a little bit more of the material, but then we have to ask ourselves, what are actually the main consumers of oil? That is fuel, heating and energy production. Then just a small percentage is used for plastic production, and that can be done in a quite efficient way, as we've seen here with Alcantara, for example. There the problem is just if plastic or particles are left in the environment as trash or are getting into the ocean. What is the main cause of these microplastics in the ocean? Old fishing nets. So always search for the biggest lever you can pull. And when is plastic being thrown into the environment, or plastic bags that are thrown anywhere? Or for example, if there is plastic particles in fashion in underwear, which is washed, hopefully, every day. But it's not a problem if it's, for example, in clothes that are not washed. For example, like huge jackets, which you don't usually wash, or a car seat is not being ripped apart mid-car cycle life and just thrown into the environment. You know what I mean? So I'm not at all a defender of plastic material, but at this moment, in most cases, it is quite efficient, and it's also one of the best things we have. And we always have to compare it. Yeah, what's the alternative? So at this moment, there are two good alternatives. A, use recycling. It is already being done using recycling share, but there the question is the recycling process efficient and also clean? So you have to take full circle there as well. And is there enough recycling raw material available? The PET bottle industry has already started to use their own bottles again. So that is also diminishing as for the raw material source. And it can be better to have a mono material as well that you can then later on recycle again. The other approach is using plant fibers or also a plant-based oil, or for example processing plants that you then get like this, these alcohol products from that, which you then can use as a replacement for oil again. So all these approaches are there and already being done. At this moment, science is in a way that you have like this share and can increase the share of it. And then at the end of the day, there are always some prototype materials out there where they go 100% recycling or 100% plant-based or mix these. So there, the big point is everything is possible. It has the greatest potential. And even if you think about inside a vehicle, the seat is about like 5 kilograms of high-grade leather rent, maybe 2.5 kilograms of fabric or microfiber, so even half of that because the material is lighter. Here Alcantara is also pretty light material. And then you have like 300, 400 kilograms of plastic in the whole vehicle. So even inside the vehicle, if you want to save plastic, then maybe rather start with the doors or in the trunk, in the cover and so on. So there's way more potential there. So the bottom line is, if you want to save plastic, if you want to save oil, go for the fuel, heating, energy production side or in the vehicle. Everywhere else, but not majorly on the seat, you see? So that's how I always try to tackle things. Where is the biggest lever I can pull? That doesn't mean that the other problems are not there, but there is the potential also to tackle the small problems. So technology is on its way, and the most important thing is to use the potential of these new modern materials.